Hi guys, welcome to Sports Week once again. I'm Tolu, he's Dan. And Dan, it's great to be here once again. Christmas knocking on the door, but there's still a lot of football to talk about.
There's plenty of football to talk about. So a busy festive period. We better get underway, I guess.
Yes, let's start with two teams where I figured that in December, if you were talking about a fixture between Tottenham and Liverpool, you're probably talking about Liverpool chasing the title and maybe Spurs and how they fared under the new manager, Thomas Frank. You felt they should be doing better, which they are. But it's that time of the year where you have to admit, Tottenham fans maybe aren't too disappointed, but for Liverpool fans, this isn't where they thought they'd be heading into a game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in December.
No, obviously, when you look at the table going into the weekend, you've got Liverpool in 7th, Tottenham in 11th. That doesn't feel right, but nothing really feels right this season. Teams aren't where they should be, which has made it so exciting. From a Liverpool perspective, I'm loath to say they've turned the corner because they have this ability to then perform badly. But when you look at their league form, they are unbeaten in their last four. That's 2 wins, 2 draws. And they've also picked up that Champions League win in Italy. So the Salah circus seems to have moved on. He's out of town, so they can focus on matters on the field fully rather than the distraction of what was taking place last week. I think that's going to be a benefit to them. As for Tottenham, you feel there's pressure again on Thomas Frank's shoulders. It dissipated slightly over the past couple of weeks with a draw at Newcastle and then a league win over Brentford. Also, that was followed up by a Champions League win in the following midweek. But again, they've reverted to type themselves and they took a heavy loss to Nottingham Forest last weekend. And they're in a position which you kind of think, is Thomas Frank going to survive the season if this continues, really? He's under pressure. He needs to deliver a win. But unfortunately, Liverpool and Crystal Palace feature in the next week or so for the white half of North London. So I think it's going to be a really tricky week for Thomas Frank and his players.
Let's put the managers side by side. Arne Slot for Liverpool and Thomas Frank for Tottenham. Tottenham finished very, very poorly last year. I think they were just above the relegation places, even though it sounds pretty ludicrous that they're 11th, and that's supposed to be an improvement on the form from last year. And for Liverpool, who everyone expected that they'd be challenging for the title. If you look at both managers, who do you think is under more pressure, especially heading into this fixture?
As of right now, I'd probably flip it to Thomas Frank. I think had Liverpool not found this mini resurgence, I think we would probably be talking about who a new Liverpool manager would be. Dare I say, a new man, or at least an interim, would be in place at the moment. But it feels just a bit more stable on Merseyside at the moment. I think for the reasons just listed, for Thomas Frank, yes, you're right in the sense that a league position has got improvement compared to last time around. But there is also that caveat where it felt like Tottenham had thrown the league campaign to make sure they won the Europa League, which they delivered. So it justified the means in the end. But this improvement in just a numerical fashion doesn't really feel like an improvement on the pitch. It doesn't feel like things have really changed from Ange Postecoglou to Thomas Frank. So Tottenham fans are frustrated that there's been managerial change, but nothing positive has come from it. So I think, as I say, if you're asking me who's under the most pressure at the moment, I think it's the current Tottenham manager.
All right, so the match itself, Spurs against Liverpool. Where do you think this one we won and lost?
I think it will be one in terms of midfield, really, because Liverpool have always got extra bodies. They've got the likes of Etiquette who's hitting his stride, even though Alexander Isak is not really hit his stride at all in Liverpool colours. But I feel that they'll be able to overload Tottenham. And although they have a settled back four, it's not really doing what it needs to be doing at the moment. And there's always question marks over the goalkeeper, Vicario. I wouldn't be surprised if he's dropped at the weekend, especially after his performance against Nottingham Forest last weekend. So I just feel that Liverpool just have that bit of extra quality in all departments. So I feel that, yes, that just that extra quality is going to get them over the line. But I think solely midfield is where Liverpool are going to be most strongest. And I think that will then push them on into attack and get that 3 points for the visitors.
Before I ask you about predictions, obviously Mohamed Salah is on his way to the AFCON. Are Liverpool a better side without the current version of Salah in it?
Well, I mean, in theory, you'd say yes because you look at the results, but they've been so bad at the start of the season. It's probably hard to sort of say it's just down to Salah. Obviously, it's a team effort, and that effort hasn't been where it needs to be. But if you take this current crop of Mo Salah out the equation, Liverpool don't feel like they've missed too much of a step. Had you took the Mo Salah out of last season, I don't think Liverpool win the Premier League. So I think that's because Salah hasn't played as well this season, they don't miss him as much when he doesn't play.
All right, so let's put our betting caps on then. Dan, how does this one go from a betting perspective?
I think there'll be goals, but unfortunately, I think Liverpool will get the most of them. I think you could probably look at something like an away win and over 3.5 goals if you wanted to add a bit more meat to the bones in terms of extra value. Both teams have their defensive flaws, but they also have their attacking ability, which can override that. But I just feel that Liverpool, as I said, will have the extra when needed, and I think they'll get the away win. So plenty of goals and 3 points for the visitors.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. As in-depth as always.
Thanks, Tolu. Cheers, mate.